Thanks for joining us, and with us this morning, State Senator Scott DeLano, State Representative Kevin Felsher, and now we're going to shift gears to some issues you guys in the state legislature and the Coast Lawmaker Contingency are going to be working on for South Mississippi and the coast in particular. One thing that we've talked about is Tidelands. This always comes up, and it becomes very, very tedious. When you talk about casino development, we've seen that. We've seen other aspects of that come up. That's always going to be an issue, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, it is, but it's time for us to put the swords down between the coastal cities and in Jackson, Secretary of State's office. Doesn't matter who the person is. From the time that I was born, it's always been an issue down here. It's time to put that away. I'm glad to see that the Secretary of State came to the legislature last year and was in agreement with the proposals that were brought forward by both the House and the Senate Coast delegation to say, we want the Secretary of State out of the business of managing and operating our local ports and harbors, and we need to get that accomplished. We need to make sure that we don't have to, anytime that the city of Gulfport or Biloxi or Ocean Springs, anybody wants to do something within their public waters, that they have to go back to the Secretary of State. We need to stop that. So we're going to work towards that, and I think that that's going to be good. And I think the only thing that we're going to say is that if you want any type of a casino development, you have to have a public trust Tidelands lease. Everything else, the locals take care of.
Yeah, because we've still got so many piers that need to be rebuilt and things like that, and it's gone on with Zeta 4 years now, and we're still quabbling over these things.
Sure.
A lot of issues there to get through. Now, as far as the developments that are coming online, we're talking about this cybersecurity center that's going to be built in Biloxi. This is a big development. It's going to bring people from across the country to train here on the Mississippi coast. And what goes into bringing those developments, not just here in South Mississippi, but across the state?
Well, this was a collaborative effort, and quite frankly, Senator DeLano was at the tip of the spear on it. And this started about 5 years ago, and it took a lot of state cooperation, Mississippi State University, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, and of course, Keesler Air Force Base and the federal government. And through that collaboration, we're looking at a 100,000 square foot cyber center, which is going to be a game changer. Scott and I are pretty much both in agreement. There should be another one to follow not too far in the future, we hope. Because
that's in the state. That's somewhere in the state.
That's in Biloxi.
In Biloxi.
On the campus.
Okay.
Keep in mind, the visionary aspect of the campus was for expansion.
Okay.
And so it's set up to grow, and that's the vision that we have.
Yeah, and this comes out of, Keesler's been building towards this in the past, 8-9 years, the cyber soldiers, their training. It really falls into place with that expansion and what's coming.
Every wing commander that's come through here in the past 8 to 10 years has had their own opinions of it. We've had some incredibly talented commanders that have come through that have gone on to be generals, and they were all in that same vein of cybersecurity or tech training, as you look at it from the Air Force's perspective. We've always been the hub for the cutting edge for the Air Force, but it was time for us to move into the 21st, 22nd century of the cyber world. And that also brings in Space Force. So we have those opportunities that have come here, and I think that that's going to bring additional specialty training for the Air Force or DOD. And then on top of that, the benefit for the state of Mississippi to invest in this is that we're going to be able to train our workforce. The workforce, our future, will be working collaboratively with the Air Force and our IHL units to be able to provide the best offering that we can. An ecosystem that is going to grow, and like Kevin said, the next buildings that will be built will be private sector money, no state money. We were just providing the seed for additional development in the future, and it's going to be incredible for Mississippi and especially here in South Mississippi.
And to keep it growing. And an opportunity the legislature has to take direct action in this session to help our seafood industry, and that's a seafood labeling bill. We're going to talk with the director of DMR here in a few minutes also about this. But what's the momentum behind this project? Do you feel like that, and how important do you feel like of an issue it is?
Okay, well, in general, there's great momentum behind it. I don't think there's much doubt it'll pass. And also, I really believe it's going to be a game changer, not only in the labeling, but in the marketing we're prepared to put dollars behind, and in the oyster programs that we've invested in through our new reef program, which I hope the general will talk about, and also the Colch program. So we're trying year by year to rebuild our seafood industry to a semblance of what it was. Can we ever get it back to seafood capital of the world? Yeah. Probably not, but we can improve it, and I think we're working towards
This would be a big step for that.
Be huge.
It's a huge step for the seafood industry, but it's also a huge step for the restaurant industry as well. As we saw in the last week or so,
yes.
the negative impact, unintended negative impacts to some of our restaurants are the reasons why the legislature hasn't acted on this in the past. There's been a great discussion in Alabama, Louisiana over the same issue. They've done some things that have been very helpful. We didn't want to do something here in South Mississippi that would have an unintended consequence, but now we have momentum going forward and some test cases in other states that have worked really well. So I look forward to that, and having support of the local industry is going on the restaurant and the seafood side is going to be great.
Yeah, there's a lot of momentum with that. Of course, a big talker, and it's really a building block, but then you throw in always the specter of what happens if there's a flood, what happens if we have freshwater intrusion. And I know there's momentum. We saw the meeting this week with Mississippi and Louisiana. From Jackson's standpoint, and you guys, that's one of those, you're involved with it, but where can it go from a state level, I guess, aside from the DMR?
Sure. So Scott attended the meeting. I'll let him speak to that,
Yeah.
but I'll just say this. The legislature, I think each year has invested, along with the governor, some money in trying to gather the research we need to prove to the Army Corps of Engineers that they need a better way of operating these release systems, and to put forward just a case to where Mississippi needs to be considered as well as Louisiana. We do feel, or we have felt like, Louisiana's gotten the better of it, and we want a fair shake.
All right, so a
Absolutely.
lot to get to here in
Yep.
the legislative session. Thank you both for joining us.